Darius Jones is president of the National Black Empowerment Action Fund. And I know that I've been reading a number of the articles that you wrote, and you say that the new mayor of the city of New York must prove himself to Black New Yorkers and show that he cares about them. Tell me what you mean by that.
Absolutely. After 400 years, Black people have become very adept at what I call pattern recognition, okay? When we see people come and try to get support from our community, we listen with a very keen ear about the issues that they're discussing. And then we want to really understand the degree to which their vision overlaps with the critical needs of our community. There's been a real disconnect in things that we've heard from Mayor Mamdani during the campaign and today. So it's going to be necessary for him to really spend time talking to Black leaders, helping assuage a lot of the fears that folks have because they think that there's a fundamental misalignment between Black priorities and the DSA.
Well, tell me what the fears are.
The fears are that our communities are being targeted for almost experimentation. There are some policies around public safety, okay, like the decriminalization of all drugs, the decriminalization of sex work, the abolition of prisons. It doesn't take a genius to understand that those can have very devastating consequences, not just in Black communities, but in any community. And there's tremendous skepticism around why something that seems so self-evident to everyone seems to be a priority of this national organization.
Well, let me ask you this question. I mean, we went from having the city's second Black mayor in Eric Adams to Mr. Mamdani. Do you think that there is a disconnect because he's trying to distance himself from the policies of Eric Adams?
I think that could be a case. That's part of it. But then I also believe, Marcia, and as you may know, we were very involved in the congressional race in the 16th congressional district here. And we spent probably about a year on the ground talking to Black voters about elements of the Democratic Socialist platform.
Right.
And when folks had an opportunity to really learn firsthand how divergent those views were from the critical priorities of Black people, they were gobsmacked. They were alarmed. And the urgency that you've seen in a lot of my op-eds is really me just giving voice to those concerns.
Well, let's talk about some of the projects. For example, charter schools. The mayor has not been very enthusiastic about charter schools, which are very popular in minority communities.
Absolutely.
So is that one of the disconnects? And tell me why that's a disconnect.
100%. I mean, because for African Americans, education has been a critical stepping stone for us to become a more self-determined people here in this nation. Every parent has nothing but the highest aspirations and wants for their children, and they know how critical education is to that.
Are charter schools better than public schools?
There have been many instances where you have seen better results and better outcomes at charter schools than you do see in public schools, which have often been characterized as failing. And I wouldn't want to deny any parent the choice of being able to remove their child from a situation that they know is destructive and give them an opportunity to be educated in a much better facility with a much better quality of education.
Now, Mr. Mamdani has been trying to characterize his administration as trying to be inclusive. And he, in terms of education, he wants to, for example, do away with the gifted and talented program. Is that a good thing for the Black community or not?
No, I don't understand that at all.
Why?
And like when I first read about that, I was like, why would you deny? Obviously, when you have a school, there are going to be different levels. Kids are going to have different aptitudes and different abilities. To take this gifted and talented program out is essentially forcing kids who actually have a gift to be educated in ways which really don't challenge them and then therefore allow them to manifest their highest potential. I just don't think that charter schools, an ideological war should be waged upon them because, go ahead.
Well, one of the other things that you raised just a minute ago, though, was, you know, his policies of wanting to close jails or to limit the number of people who would be in these community jails. Now, some people in the Black community would say that's a good thing that there'll be less people imprisoned. Why are you against that?
That's true. Now, I will say, though, in the main, most people recognize that prisons do exist for a reason. There are some people who actually should be removed from society. And the notion of a wholesale abolition of prisons, what does that mean? When these folks are released, they're not going to go to the more affluent neighborhoods. they're going to go to African-American neighborhoods.
Well, I mean, they're not going to, I mean, he wants to close Rikers, but they will be opening, 4 community jails. The difference is that there are about 7,000 people in Rikers, and there's only spots for about 4,000 in the community jails. But there still will be jails. But you take issue with that policy?
I would say even with that, there's going to be a real need for more clarity. Because people have questions and concerns that should be addressed.
He's also, in terms of the police, wants to establish this Department of Community Safety. He says that they will take away from the cops the ability to deal with the mentally ill or domestic violence and focus and give more attention to people who have mental illness. Is that a good thing for the black community or a bad thing?
I understand where he is coming from with that, okay? You have to have different prescriptions for different problems and situations. However, there will be, as was evidenced here recently in New York, there will be situations where a social worker or a psychological professional is not going to be equipped for the challenges that they're going to face. And you need law enforcement for that.
So you're worried about the fact that there's going to be a lack of ability to cope with somebody who could be violent?
Absolutely.
Somebody who would have a weapon or somebody would grab a knife or something in the heat of a moment?
Absolutely. And not only does that concern me, I would imagine that some of those psychological professionals who will be challenged to do this probably have concerns that maybe they voiced or maybe haven't voiced. But that seems to me to be a dangerous situation to put people, families, and communities in.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there for now.